So you notice when I'm carrying the instrument, I'm carrying it with two hands, not just one, two hands, nice and secure, and it's vertical. You don't want to tilt it over or nothing, just carry it from the classroom outside. Once you come outside, obviously when you put it on the ground, don't bang it onto the floor. You're gonna put it on the ground, carefully, and then you're gonna open the legs of the tripod. Now notice how I open the legs of the tripod. They do need to be open a certain amount, a good amount, where it'll stay nice and stable. Beginning students do this a lot. They put it like this. Oh, pues es que that way it doesn't take up that space, but look at that. It can fall over very, very easily. So be very, very careful on how you put the tripod. You open the legs sufficient enough, and of course don't go too crazy either. That does happen every once in a while. Sometimes you need to do that, but for what we're doing, not necessary. You just simply put it, más o menos, I don't know, 3 feet or so, okay? Where it's nice and stable. All right. Forgive me for this step. I always forget at what point, but we do need to put these into the ground, okay? Yeah, I guess at this point. So once you take the tripod, you put it on the ground, you need to dig those legs into the ground, okay? And even if it's hard surface, it will still go into the ground. How do you do that? You put your weight on it, okay? Don't be afraid of it. A lot of students are like, oh, mister, I'm gonna break it and stuff. Well, you can break it. We've had students, some students that broke it. I was gonna say something else, but nonetheless, just put some weight on it, okay? That way it goes into the ground. And sometimes you'll even hear it going into the ground. Here, you're not gonna hear it a whole lot because it's hard concrete. On the asphalt, you actually might feel it going a little bit more. Sometimes you're serving, of course this is turf, but if it was grass, sometimes the leg ends up being all the way into the grass. It doesn't matter. You need to have it that far in so that it stays stable. If it's not that far in, it's not stable. Okay. To level it, you're gonna use a combination of two different things. There's a little bubble in here, okay? If you look at that bubble will tell us which way to level it. Before we get crazy with these, we're gonna start with 2 legs and 2 legs only. Do not work with all 3, okay? 2 legs and 2 legs only. What I'm gonna do is look at how I'm putting my hand. I'm gonna put my hand here, and then I'm going to release the tripod. That way I can use this hand to just guide it back and forth and raise it or lower it, okay? Do not do this. If you do this and you release it, it's really hard to control it, okay? So it's always best to put your hand right in here, one of them, and then release it, and then that way you can just kind of move it back and forth a little bit, okay? What do we need to do? Well, we need to level it. Here, let me see if I can get the camera here. You see where that bubble is at? That bubble will tell me how much of these 2 legs to work with. Again, you only pick 2, not the 3. So here what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this leg, release it, keep an eye on that bubble at the same time that I have in here, and I'm gonna move it back and forth. So I'm gonna move it up a little bit. Right about there, okay? Notice at the camera angle, the bubble is technically aligned with this leg over here. You see that, okay? So from here, I will now work with this bubble. I'm sorry, with this leg, trying to get the bubble into that little center circle. So I'm going to release this one over here, same technique. Move it up or down. If you don't know which way, just move it up or down until you see the bubble actually move, okay? So here, the bubble moved. I'm gonna go ahead and lock it right there. If you notice, now this bubble is aligned with this leg. So I'm gonna grab this leg, release it. Notice I'm just working with the 2. And it's getting a little bit closer to the center. Lock it, see how it's closer. And I'm just working with those 2 legs. Here I can guarantee I'll get it pretty close to the center. Right there. And lock, okay? So that's actually pretty close right there. But if I need to fine tune it, go ahead and look over here. Notice how I'm gonna turn these knobs. The knob, just by simply turning it that much, look at how much that bubble moves. And that's what I'm saying. I always don't understand why the students move the knobs like a lot. Like you shouldn't have to do that. You really just have to, if you do this correctly, these knobs, you really just have to move them just slightly. Here, just slightly. And now it's leveled, okay? Notice, very, very small amount of moving of the knobs. Most of it was done with the legs. That is one technique of many, okay? Once everything is set up, be very careful. Do not touch the tripod. stay away from the tripod. By moving around, I could potentially kick the tripod if you're not careful, which is why you need to be careful what you're doing. I can kick the tripod. Whenever I'm taking my readings, don't lean on the tripod because you can take it off level pretty quick. As a matter of fact, it's already off level. I leaned on it a little bit. Look at that. See how it's off now? Okay. So don't lean on it. Don't touch the tripod. Once again, level it. Notice how little I have to move this thing. Okay. And then that's it. Do your work by moving this thing. Oh, and you really should move the level around a couple of times. Check the levels there at each, about three different areas around the circle, I guess, if you want to say that. Okay. And then just make sure everything's level. Once again, once everything's level, you just simply move the level. Don't even touch the tripod. You take your readings, so you do this way, obviously because I can't see, and then go in there and start focusing. Don't forget that whenever you start working with the instrument, you want to aim this little target here. This sight, I guess is what we call it. You want to aim that like if it was I don't want to say the word gun, but it's like a gun. You want to aim these towards where the rod is going to be at. That way it gives you a good idea of where that's supposed to be at. And then once you do that, you look in here, you should be able to see the rod. It won't be centered, but then that's why you go in here and you focus it with this one. You want the crosshairs to be aligned with the rod. You want to move this one back and forth just a little bit. Focus and move this one back a little bit just to get the crosshair right at the center of the rod. And then you need to be able to see the crosshairs. Sometimes the crosshairs are too like faded out. So you use this one to make the crosshairs look darker. So it's a combination of focusing, moving it back and forth, and crosshairs. Okay? And that's how you level the level. Once again, be careful with the tripod. Don't touch it. Not until you're ready to go. At that point, once you're done with all your work, then you center it, and you pick it up, and you go.